Hello to all friends and fans of the pulp, paper, and bioproducts industries. Welcome to our exciting Spectrum podcast, where we'll be talking about Andritz's introduction of a hood air system based on electrical heating, the Prime Dry Hood E. I am Mark Rushton, and I will be your host. As all of us are aware, we are living in challenging times when it comes to energy prices and supply volatility. It is, in fact, the perfect storm, as regulation is also biting when it comes to CO2 emissions. So today, our topic for discussion is the innovative Prime Dry Hood E from Andritz for tissue producers, which uses the same air system as gas or steam heated hoods, but with electric heaters replacing gas burners or steam heaters. As tissue mills seek to optimize their energy consumption for optimum sustainability, Andritz's introduction of a hood air system based on electrical heating is very timely. So, today we are delighted to bring you two experts from Andritz who know all there is to know about this new technology. So welcome, Marco Catani, Product Manager, and George Nowakowski, Vice President, Tissue Drying at Andritz. Thanks for joining us, gentlemen.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So let's start with the first question. Can you give us a general summary of the challenges being faced by tissue producers when it comes to energy? And George, can we start with you, please?
Yeah, no problem. Thank you, Mark. The challenges of tissue industries were present since many, many years and became very, very obvious in the last 2 or 3 years in terms of the energy prices worldwide and in terms of the emissions. As far as the emissions, everybody is very sensitive about the CO2, carbon dioxide emissions to the atmosphere, where every industries, including car industries, are looking for optimization, reduction, or even total eliminations. Tissue industry is a key industry that is using energy to dry and to produce tissue paper. Just to give you, for the sake of argument, a number. Tissue machine, total cost of 1 ton, 18%, close to 20%, it's energy. In that 20%, 55% is drying by the Yankee hood systems and Yankee cylinders. So how the drying is done? The drying is done using mainly natural gas. 99% of the tissue machines are using natural gas to dry tissue. Drying and combusting natural gas produces obviously CO2. Just to give you comparison, how much? Obviously, maybe comparing production of tissue with car industries. For example, typical tissue machine that produces 200 tons per day of tissue paper on the yearly basis generates 15,000 tons of CO2 per year. 15,000 tons of tissue per year corresponds to emissions of 3,000 cars, passenger cars per year. So that gives you good perception, good idea. It is a big number. So since many, many years, we were thinking that we need to do something. We need to change our technology or focus on different energies. And this is what brought us together, not only us, but many other companies, to convert our gas power industries to perhaps other means of energy like electricity. So this is where we are with the Yankee Hood E. E stands for electrical, means not using gas, using electricity, and we are developing technology within Andritz company.
Excellent. Thank you. Marco, any points to add there?
Yeah, as George said, prime dried hood E means essentially heated by electric energy, powered with electric energy. The application of the electric electricity for air heating is just a proven technology, let's say, that is in use, for example, in different sectors than our sector. For example, in textile industries, in wood industry, oil and gas, and so. While the application of the electric energy and electric heating in tissue is, let's say, quite innovative and very important, as George said, from reduction of the emission to the atmosphere in terms of CO2 and NOx. This is really very important from application point of view. Really innovative technology. And we can, as Andritz, we would like to push on these technologies in order to try to reduce as much as possible the emission to the atmosphere. That is really very important and sensitive.
Okay, thank you very much. So we're going to move on to the second question now, which is, can you give us a general introduction to the Prime Dry Hood E? What does the E stand for? I'm guessing it's electricity, according to our discussion so far, but also a history of the proven application. Can you just give us a little bit more there?
Yeah, the Prime Dry Hood E comes basically from the application of the electrical heater to heat up the air. And this is particularly significant because it is allowed to reduce drastically the CO2 emission and NOx emission to the atmosphere. This solution comes from a proven technology that is the application of the electrical heater to heat up the air. That is common in other sectors. And we want to apply this kind of technology also in tissue. This is basically the story of the system and how this can be really effective in tissue production. So we can also add that one important point that is a big advantage in tissue drying for the application of the electric heating system is that you are basically not affected by combustion problems that could happen when you use conventional fuel, like, for example, natural gas, LPG, diesel oil. Because if you have problem in the combustion, you will reflect a black spot or a smell problem on the paper. And this is basically not allowed to our customer. Our customer want to have a very nice and very good product that is completely free from any kind of defect. And black spot or smell is really a big problem in the tissue market, because in our process, the air that we use to dry the water is directly in contact with the paper. So if you have a problem in the combustion, immediately the problem reflects in the final product. And this is not acceptable from our customer. And at the same time, because we save, we are for sure good and we resolve the problem of the combustion, also we enter in another specific sector of the industry that is, let's say, in this moment called green sector, because we are completely covered from CO and NOx emission to the atmosphere. So basically our product, the final product, can be sold as green. This is very important because green economy is something that is really developing and becoming always and always more important in the tissue market, but also in many other industry sectors that are related to emission to the atmosphere.
George, any comments to make on that? Thank you, Marco.
Yeah, I would like to add maybe something interesting because people may ask why electricity, why not continue with natural gas or other fossil fuels. I have learned with our applications, with our customer base, that a certain percentage of electricity is already generated by hydroelectric power. So it is nature generating electricity by hydroelectric power. It's basically clean transfer from left to right. And if we could tap it to that hydroelectric power, that is perhaps 1/3 or 1/4 of any country that generates electricity, either from fossil fuels or from hydroelectric power, then we have a winner.
Okay, thank you very much for those answers. So moving on to the next question, what are the numbers when it comes to energy savings that can be achieved when installing a Prime Dry Hood E?
we can say that from energy saving point of view, the electric heater is much better than combustion because you don't have the combustion air that you need to heat up in the process. So in terms of saving, we can say that we can say 3-4% energy saving is always achievable with electrical heater. And also because we have, for example, electrical heater concept is that the technology is based on the Joule effect. Joule effect means the capacity to translate 100% of the electric in thermal power. And basically this is, from theoretical point of view, possible to convert the 100% of the electric energy in thermal energy. This is not possible in combustion normally because you have the efficiency of the burner, you have the efficiency of the combustion. In this phase, you lost some efficiency, and this reduces your capacity of drying. So in terms of saving, we could say that from theoretical point of view, electric heater is better than normal combustion, can be with natural gas, LPG, diesel oil, but generally speaking, combustion. And saving is around 3-4%.
I may add to that section from my side. Combustion of fossil fuels, specifically natural gases, which is 90% or 95% in tissue industries, combustion by itself, by the process of combustion, requires two factors. Requires oxygen, obviously, and requires evaporation of the water, because 1 cubic meter of natural gas contains about 10% of the water. In order to produce heat combusting natural gas, you have to evaporate water. That's another 10%. Doesn't exist in case of electricity. Electricity is clean. If you produce electricity by hydroelectric power stations, you have a clean 100% transfer.
Okay, excellent, great. So clearly it's advantageous and savings can definitely be made. So what about installations? What is involved when fitting a prime dry hood E on an existing tissue machine, for instance?
Okay, on the existing tissue machines, as they typically have today, burner systems or combustion chambers, casings, it's a box that contains a flame with a burner attached to that box. So basically, there is equipment that has its own size, let's say 2 meters in diameter, 5 meters in length. So that equipment has to be substituted by electric heating box. This electric heating box will contain heating elements, which is basically resistance type elements, connect to the high voltage power and basically produce heat a la toaster at home. It's the same principle. So to replace the combustion chamber with natural gas, it's a basically simple approach, allowing the bigger box or equal size box with electric heater to be put on the same space where you had currently natural gas box or combustion chamber.
Yeah, so a relatively simple job, would you say, George?
Yes, it is simple job, but obviously, like any rebuild, requires study, analysis of the space, design of the electric heating elements or electric heating box. But it is basically a 1-for-1 replacement. There is not much trouble to find any additional elements or additional obstacles. Obviously, electrical power has to be connected instead of natural gas connections.
Okay, excellent. Marco, any comments there?
Yeah, I would like to add to what George said to 2 points. Mainly, that is it possible to work, as George said, we can replace 1-to-1 the combustion chamber with electrical heater, and this is an option. But also we can install, if we have the space available, the electrical heater that can work in combination with the natural gas. So, for example, you can decide to work with natural gas or with electrical heater and to switch off according to the cost of the electricity and cost of the gas in the right way and go in optimization cost for the production of the paper. And this is the first point. And the second point is that, as George said before, electricity can be produced by hydro, for sure, but also can be produced, for example, with a solar farm or wind farm. Okay. So, for example, if you can imagine that a tissue mill can be completely independent from the grid, for example, installing solar panel on the roof of the mill, you are completely free from the grid. You don't need the gas pipe or diesel oil pipe from the external. And so you are completely independent from what happening outside of the mill. No? In this way, you could be really, from the tissue mill point of view, really independent from the variation of the cost of the different kind of fuel. And in this moment, we have seen that a lot of customers are investigating in the possibility to install solar farm or wind farm close to the mill or inside of the mill, if they have space, in order to be, as I said before, completely independent from the grid and from the net, auto-producing internally the electric heat, the electricity that you need to heat up the air, and in this way you are completely independent.
Excellent. Great. Fantastic answers. To finish up, gentlemen, do you have any additional comments to make about the Prime Dry Hood E?
Well, the benefit is obvious: environment and cost. Cost is obviously the key issue. Cost, like I said, in terms of energy in tissue machine, drying represents 55%. So every tissue seminar that I participate, any conference that I participate, everybody talks about energy. But I could make a comment that since many years, nobody was brave enough to touch the subject of electricity, because it was natural gas. Everything is almost for free, very cheap. Natural gas. If you look at the 1 kilowatt of natural gas still today versus 1 kilowatt of electricity, the natural gas is 3 times cheaper today than electricity. So, but this is today. Obviously, everybody is looking into the future, and this is where this Prime Dry E hood will make Andritz a very venture company who will transform industry without any doubt.
Excellent. Marco, any final comments?
Yeah, you have to consider that apart of the cost of the different fuel and electricity, you have to consider that the tissue mill pay taxes on the emission that they emit to the atmosphere. So, in terms of emission at the end of the year, you have to pay one big number of taxes because of this emission that is generated by the combustion of the different fuel that you can have. With electricity, this is not necessary, because you don't have to pay taxes, or you pay much less because you don't have emission to the atmosphere, or you can reduce that drastically the number of and the type of emission that you send to the atmosphere. So this is very important point that each mill and every mill should take in account for the future.
Yeah, and I would like to add one more comment to Marco on that. When you look at the globe, there is many countries that do not have fossil fuels, neither natural gas, neither LPG, neither petroleum. However, those countries are buying electricity from other countries. So in cases like that, I noticed prices of natural gas that is being imported by such a country versus price of electricity that this country is using is almost the same. So in terms of our business opportunities, to have electric heater or electric e-hood will answer the question to many countries that do not have petroleum or gas industries and have electricity only available, where the cost is to 1 kilowatt is pretty much the same, 1 to 1.
Excellent. Thank you very much for an excellent discussion there. So clearly, the conversation on this podcast demonstrates the power of innovation and of new inventions, underlying that old saying, necessity is the mother of invention. It's great to know that suppliers in the industry, and particularly Andritz in the case of the Prime Dry Hood E, are listening to producers and feeling the pain that the energy challenges are bringing. And not only they're listening, but they're supplying proven solutions that will have a marked effect on energy consumption and the carbon footprint reduction. Should any of our valued listeners wish to find out more, please feel free to visit our website. You can find the link in the show notes of this episode. That was an excellent deep dive into the advantages of the Prime Dry Hood E, and I'd like to thank our experts Marco and George for sharing all your deep knowledge. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
It was great discussion, gentlemen. I wish we could have more often this type of discussions.
Thank you very much, Mark, for the opportunity that you give us. It's very important to explain to customer and to everybody possibility and the advantage that we could have in this kind of application.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And thank you very much to our listeners as well. And goodbye.